The name of the show is East Meets West. You know him as the host of the podcast, Talking Politics and Religion Without Killing Each Other. Highly recommended around Thanksgiving, especially. So if you haven't heard it, this is the time of year to listen to that podcast. He's also the second most important person from Freehold, New Jersey, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Corey Nathan.
And he is the 7-time Emmy-winning broadcast journalist, born and raised in beautiful Los Angeles, Rick Garcia. And I know you're jealous. You're looking at my hat.
Yes.
And you're curious. You're wondering, what the heck is that hat doing? But you're preemptively jealous. It's the Eastern League champion Binghamton Rumble Ponies. Yes, I said the champion Ponies. AA Mets. I know you're jealous of us having a championship team, but
no, I am the Rumble Ponies. You know what? The minor league teams, they have the best names. They have the best promotions. It really is incredible. So, all right, you ready to get started? We want to begin this podcast with the circus that is Shedeur Sanders. I mean, nobody has commanded more attention for doing nothing so far, really, relatively speaking, in the NFL than this guy, for a myriad of reasons. So polarizing, Shedeur Sanders, because there are people that just are dying to see him fail, and then there are people dying to see him prove other people wrong. Got his first start against one of the worst teams in the NFL, the Raiders, last weekend. Had a decent performance as he led the team to victory, which coaches will tell you the most important thing for a quarterback is to win, right? Not about the statistics. It was 11 for 20 and threw a 66-yard pass, though I will tell you the pass was a negative 4-yard pass.
That's right. That's right.
Caught, and the guy broke some tackles and wound up scoring a touchdown. So what did that earn him? That earned him a chance to be the starting quarterback in their next game, even though the quarterback drafted ahead of him in the 3rd round. Remember, Shedeur Sanders drafted in the 5th round. No slide more notorious than his slide in the NFL draft. The son of Deion Sanders. Dillon Gabriel, drafted ahead of him, took over the starting role a couple of weeks ago, was knocked out with a concussion, has been cleared to play, but they've decided after the win over the Raiders, the lowly Raiders, I want to point that out, that Shedeur should get another start. What do you think?
Well, I have lots of thoughts. So one is, you said more notorious for having done nothing. I would say that works to Shedeur Sanders' advantage, because he came in with all the pomp and circumstance that you'd expect for the son of an NFL Hall of Famer. But the fact that we haven't heard anything from training camp through the first, 11 games of the season, I think works to his favor. It means that he's kept his head down. He started out as a 4th stringer on this team, and now he's the starter. It means that he kept his head down in the quarterback's room. He did his work. From his father, I would say that it can be assumed, based on what we've seen 2/3 of the way through the season, that he learned a work ethic and an approach to how one should be in the room. And now, listen, you're right. The stats are relatively pedestrian stats, but remember, it's his first start in the NFL.
Sure.
And granted that of those, 200 yards, more than half of it was just 2 passes. But yeah, the 66-yarder was a negative 4-yard pass. But the 52-yarder was a pretty impressive pass. And, the interception came in the first quarter. So
a bad one.
I'm taking a wait and see approach. I want to see, does he improve from one week to the next? And as you pointed out, the 49ers have a much more stout defense than the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, he's playing a real team. And even though the 49ers, they are so injured, they don't have Fred Warner, they don't have Bosa, but this will still be a better test because Kyle Shanahan does such a great job of scheming. And so he's going to do his best to confuse the young quarterback. And here's the thing you talked about the quarterback room, and it is often said that the most difficult position to play in all of sports is quarterback, and I completely agree with that. I think about the golf tournaments I used to cover, and the Tiger Woods and the Tom Watsons, and you name them. I had a chance to cover some of these guys standing over that little white ball that sits on a tee, doesn't move, and you've got all these people saying, "Shh, quiet, please," right? And then remember covering NFL quarterbacks and watching Joe Montana step to the line of scrimmage with 11 guys across the field from him, all, larger than he is, trying to kill him. 60 or 70,000 people in the stadium screaming at him if he's playing, for example, in a non-friendly a football stadium. He's got people in motion. He's got defenders moving. He's got all these things he has to remember at the line of scrimmage during the play, and people are screaming, throwing their beer, all kinds of. And so if you play that position, it's more than just, you have to be the smartest guy in the room at all times. You have to be the guy that shows up before anybody else, turn the lights on at the office, last guy to leave, hang around, throw passes to people if they need him. I mean, the quarterback is the leader. He is the field general, the guy that everybody looks to. How did Tom Brady get away with going over to the sidelines and getting in the face of these guys that were 6'5", 320 and screaming at them?
Yeah.
Like they were his kids or the dog who tore up the couch, because they had respect for him. Two ways to get it. One is to win. If you're winning, they'll put up with all the other BS. Your teammates will put up with it. Aaron Rodgers isn't a fun guy to play with. And so they'll put up with him if he's winning. If he ain't winning, then you're going to lose your teammates quickly. That's number one. Number two, lead by example. Are you the guy that's working harder than everybody else? Are you the guy that's trying to prop up your teammates? Let me give you a quote. The way after the game ended against Las Vegas, when he was interviewed by a reporter, and he was asked what fans should hope to see from him, and this is a quote: "I'm who they've been looking for. I'm who they've been looking for." Played one NFL game. I'm who they've been looking for. If he's going to go out there and be flamboyant, and he's going to go out there or as he did in a previous game, sit on the bench and pout after the team loses and not figure out a way to prop up again his teammates who are also down on a given game, it's going to be a long road for him. And I'll just finish with this for you, because I know you're dying to get a word in. There's a reason he dropped to the 5th round. You mean to tell me there wasn't one among those 30 football teams that didn't see what nobody else saw? Because teams want to win, man. They'll do anything to win, especially the desperate teams. And nobody went after this guy until Cleveland did it in the 5th round after they'd already drafted a quarterback. So that tells me that it had little to do with some of the rumors about how he showed up at some of the draft meetings, the pre-draft meetings, and seemed to have a lack of interest. Kind of made it clear that he was, the kind of guy that wants to do things his way. And NFL offenses are so sophisticated, the good ones, right? Really, really difficult to figure out. So it ain't park football. You can get away with running around back there and making a couple of athletic moves, but at the end of the day, if you can't read a defense and you can't get through your progressions 1, 2, 3, and 4, you're not going to be an NFL quarterback. And you don't have to take my word for it. Ask Sam Bradford, who was Rookie of the Year with the Rams and then fell off the face of the earth, and Robert Griffin III, who was Rookie of the Year and then fell off the face of the earth. They created game-managing styles of offense for those two quarterbacks when they were rookies. And then when it was time to get started, things were getting more complicated and defenses are now scheming for you and they look for all the things you do poorly. It was a whole nother world for some of these guys.
Yeah.
Take it away, Corey.
There's a lot there. There's a lot there. So you mentioned in your first set of comments, the word circus came up a couple times. Mm-hmm. And you also bring up a really good point about the fact that he dropped to the 5th round. I really wonder how much that was determined by the circus, by his demeanor, by how he showed up in those pre-draft interviews. Mm-hmm. So I wonder, not to say that he'd be a top 5 pick, even though that was the talk leading up to the draft, but would he have been drafted in the 2nd round, the 3rd round? Perhaps. But a lot of the soft analysis would go into how he shows up in those interviews and the concerns that might go along. Now, the other thing that gives me concern, there was some commentary about Deshaun Watson in his ear and acting as a de facto coach which one would say, okay, that's great. He's finding a way to get some value out of the tens of millions of dollars that the Cleveland Browns are paying Watson. But
Right.
I would say, you know what? We know Deshaun Watson's talented. We know
Sure.
Sanders is talented. But everything other than Deshaun Watson's talent is what we're really concerned about. And
Right.
everything other than Shedeur Sanders' talent is what we're concerned about. So I would say get Deshaun Watson as far away from Sanders as
Yeah.
possible. Maybe get him around, go to some summer camps with the likes of, as much of a critic as I've been, or a skeptic, I should say, of Indiana Jones, Daniel Jones, on the last couple episodes, I would say that if you talk to if you heard the coaches and his teammates, that to your point, Indiana Jones is showing up before everybody else and is leaving after everybody else. So put Shedeur Sanders on summer camps, going and teaching, coaching kids, get him around Indiana Jones as much as possible this summer and see how he advances. The last thing I'll say, and then I'll let you take over, is the biggest reason, if I was a Cleveland Browns fan, and they are some of the most devout fans in the world, right? I don't know if you know anybody from Cleveland, but they are really devoted
Oh my
to their
gosh,
teams.
incredible! No, I don't think there is a fan base more devoted than Cleveland Browns fans.
They absolutely love them, and they deserve a winning team.
Yes, they do.
What I would say is give the Browns a real look. Give this kid a half a dozen games. They've already seen what Dylan Gabriel can do. Maybe he can develop into a solid mid-level starting quarterback. I doubt it based on what we've seen, but we haven't seen enough. I want to see if Shedeur Sanders can progress from one game to the next. I want to see if he's really able to take a leadership role over these next half dozen games. And there's some stiffer competition, as we've discussed. So I want to see him start the next half dozen games and see what the Cleveland Browns really have.
Well, and for me, it's not even about the net. It is a game at a time, right? Stacking blocks, as Sean McVay likes to say. You just want to keep improving and getting better. So clearly, and even I think for a quarterback his entire rookie year, I think that folks are willing to deal with certain elements. I think when it comes to a quarterback, the thing that that's what teammates don't want to put up with. They don't want the guy sitting I used to hear this about Kaepernick, that the problem with him was that, he would isolate himself from the rest of the team. And then you wonder, is he doing the work? Is this the guy that's going to lead us into the fire? And when you see the mistakes happening, then you start to question that. I think all that off the field, that flamboyance, people don't want to see that from their quarterback. They're used to seeing that with their wide receivers and sometimes their running backs and sometimes their outside linebackers. Their quarterback, they want somebody steady. They want somebody who's is when the pressure's on, man, they're steely-eyed and they don't want somebody showboating. And you can do that when you're winning or you score 3 touchdowns. By the way, it's interesting to say, because another comment that Shedeur did make after that first win, he said, look, this is just with 1 week's worth of first team reps because he hasn't been practicing with the first team. He said, imagine what it's like, if I get a whole season under my belt of first team reps. I want to remind him and everybody else that and by the way, he became the 42nd quarterback to start for the Browns since 1999 and became the first, so this is a milestone, the first quarterback to win his first NFL start since Eric Zaire in 1995.
Wow.
Who's Eric Zaire?
Exactly.
My point,
who's
right?
Eric Zaire? I do remember that name, but that is interesting.
Well, that's my point, though. So, hey, be excited, but just think about ways to, and maybe he's doing this in the locker room, telling his teammates what a wonderful job they did of keeping him clean in that game and supporting him and backing him up. I think that would go a lot further than, hey, Cleveland, I'm who you've been waiting for.
Yeah.
He may be right. We'll find out.
I have a question for you. So,
yeah,
how many wins over under would it take, and what other signs are you looking for to crown Shedeur Sanders the 2026 starter? How many wins? The reason I ask is because they have 2 first-round picks, so they can draft the wide receiver out of USC. They could draft
Hmm.
one of the wide receivers out of Ohio State. They can
Yeah.
draft the
Hmm.
next Jumbo Elliott, with their
Yeah.
second first round pick. But if Shedeur Sanders doesn't show what he needs to show, they can't afford
Yeah.
to not draft a very high level quarterback in,
Yeah.
in the first round of this upcoming draft.
So after all of my glass half empty reviews of Shador, I will say to you, I do want to see him play. I do want to see what he's made of. I do want the Cleveland Browns these last 6 games of the season to see what he's all about. They're not going anywhere anyway. With coaches, they have a hard time doing that because Kevin Stefanski's job could be on the line. If he's playing well and he's playing within the team, structure, then I think that you can make enough of a decision at the end of 6 more games to decide if he's the guy that you want to anoint for next season. Then what you do is you turn around and go get a real backup with experience. Find somebody who can babysit, who can help him, who can teach him how to watch film.
Russell Wilson probably
Give
be
him the
looking
ins
for a
and
job.
outs. I mean, Russell's been an enigma too with a lot of his teams. He's been bouncing around a lot.
Yeah.
I wonder about him. You always hear and see Dan Orlovsky on ESPN all the time. He was the quintessential backup who was really good. In fact, the Rams brought him in to help teach with film study there. I think with Jared Goff, I believe, if the story is right there. Find somebody who really wants to counsel him and teach him. But he also has to be somebody who wants to be taught, right? Is he coachable? That's the question. But I want to see him. I want to see what he does these next 6 weeks and find out. It won't tell us whether he's for real or not. You never know after one season. If a quarterback, I mentioned it already, could be rookie of the year, doesn't mean that they're going to have a long career. So it just means that maybe he's your starter next season. Or you say, all right, he's shown us enough that we're going to have an open quarterback competition next year. Go find a really good backup quarterback who's been well seasoned. I guess I'll put it to you that way. And then with those draft picks, like you said, maybe build around that. So it's a little bit of a roll of the dice, but we'll see. It's going to be a lot of fun, no matter how you look at it. All right, time to move on, my friend. We're going to talk a little bit about we know about the Dodgers winning back-to-back World Series titles, and then their owner Mark Walter turns around and pays $10 billion to purchase the Lakers. Now that there's a lot of excitement in Lakerland for that. A lot of folks who I will tell you that Jerry Buss was a long-loved owner in Los Angeles. Everybody knows how much the team meant to him. He was always one of my favorite folks to interview in Los Angeles sports because he had that passion. The team meant so much to him. Some might say that it meant as much to him or more possibly than his own family, who, by the way, wound up in charge of the team after he passed away. Now, recently, the Dodgers brass have taken over. They fired Joey Buss and Jesse Buss from their front office positions. They worked in scouting. Jeannie Buss stays on as governor. The family has sort of been, let me put it to you this way, it's been dysfunctional. That would be a nice way to put it for a long time. Jeannie and her siblings, there's apparently been, I guess, some strained relations there. It's probably a nice way to put it. Jeannie's still with the team. Joey and Jesse have left. Now, what does that mean? Well, it's something that the team needed to do with new ownership. You don't usually keep the folks around that were running it before, and I think the Lakers fans are happy because they want to see this team get to the next level. And so the Dodgers front office folks, Farhan Zaidi and Andrew Friedman, have apparently been taking an active role with the Lakers. And what's important about this is Zaidi's a special advisor to the Dodgers, who's renowned for his analytics, right? And I think there's been a feeling that the Lakers for a long time can really use some expertise in analytics. And as we've seen, as you and I baseball fans, you with the Mets and me with the Dodgers, we've seen how far analytics has changed baseball to some degree. So let's see what happens with the Lakers in this. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think the Dodgers are kind of inserting themselves too much into the equation, or is this what's needed?
I am skeptical because one can't assume just because you have success in one sport, it means you're going to have success in another sport. But I think what they're leaning into may very well transcend sports. And what I mean is a lot of the success of the Dodgers is, in fact, analytical, as you point out. Another reason for the success, or other reasons for the success of the Dodgers, can also transcend to other sports, meaning some of what they've done is by having successful recruitment of worldwide athletes. We live in a world that the recruiting pool is now worldwide, certainly for baseball and certainly for the NBA.
Yep.
What the 92 Olympics did is it expanded, and we're going back 30 plus years now, but it expanded the pool of recruitment to the world, to the entire world, right? And now we're coming to see that come to fruition. So now the athletes just could not compete in 92, but you have kids that are now born in the 2000s, and in 2005 even, that are now looking at entering the NBA. And I think it can translate. So that's one thing. The other thing that the Dodgers have done better than any franchise in Major League Baseball, that I hope my New York Mets, I'm starting to see the signs, is in development. So it's ironic too, because if you could point to any success that the Bus brothers have had, it's in the development. It's in recruiting, scouting, and development. You get guys like Austin Reeves, Alex Caruso, Larry Nance. And listen, it's not like drafting Tom Brady in the third round or whatever, but those are relative successes, and that's what their contribution was. But again, my biggest question is, you can't necessarily assume guys that are successful in baseball are also going to be successful in basketball, but the impact that they can have, I do think, can transcend two different sports.
Well, here's what I'll say about that. The superstars are easy. Anybody knows Ohtani's a great player, and boy, if I'd put him on my team in a minute.
It's easy,
right?
But it
That's
doesn't
easy.
mean they can
Luka Doncic.
They can successfully recruit him in that free agent process.
Correct. That's more salesmanship, though, right?
Right.
Where I think this stuff comes in handy is, and I'll just use the Dodgers as an example, the Max Muncies, the Justin Turners, the Tommy Edmonds, the Evan Phillips. We know Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts can play baseball, right? But all these other guys.
It's like the mortar in between the bricks.
Those are the analytics numbers. You're like, why would you sign that guy?
Yeah.
And then you find out, oh, okay, there's a specific he's got a particular set of skills. Let me put it that way. And for games like this, and so I think this is really going to be huge for the Lakers. I think that the Lakers could wind up being got to punch the brakes, just like with Shedeur Sanders. We got to punch the brakes here for a second. I think it's good. I don't know if it's going to be good for Rob Pelinka, who's been making all these decisions to this point, and will they replace him? And I will tell you that the transition in baseball was hard. Tommy Lasorda would have never gone for analytics. He was a gut manager, an experienced manager. He was the kind of guy, he would say things to me like, and back in the day when we'd go out to cover them. I remember when you're during spring training, let me tell you something, Rick. In my day, we pitched 1,000 innings, and if my arm dropped off, then I'd come out and pitch 2 more innings. That's old school thinking. I think Mike Scioscia, who was a great manager, was a chip off the Tommy Lasorda block when he managed the Angels and did a great job. I think part of why he left was how baseball managing was modernizing. Same with the Don Mattingleys and the Joe Torres. This idea that, okay, some nerd is going to walk up with a piece of paper saying, here's the guy that we're going to go after, and having these guys say, what are you, nuts? I've never heard of that guy. But then you get this new breed of managers, the Dave Roberts, and some of these younger managers are like, okay, I don't mind managing with help like that. I'm anxious to see if the Lakers are going to be able to do the same thing. We'll see.
I have a question, and it might sound like it's off topic, but have you started using AI in any of your work on a day-to-day basis?
I've goofed around with it a little bit. Admittedly, I was one of those I remember working at a place one time where I was telling a lot of the young people who would bring me a report, and I would say, wow, this is really good. Did you write it? No, not really. I chat GPT'd it, And I would try to, counsel them that, look, it's really important. This has to come from you. And I'd give them the speech. I've played around with it a couple of times. Oh, okay, I've got my structure there. It has all the information. Now I can make it mine and fine tune it and do what needs to be done.
Right, right. So it plays into what we're talking about in sports because in AI, the best technicians, the best craftspeople that I know who are really using AI use a phrase called human in and human out. And they have developed skills leading up to the point where they use the tools of AI, where they can think creatively, imaginatively, analytically, technically. And if you rely too much on AI, or in this case on analytics, you never develop the ability to think. So I think we're going to get to a point where it's a good balance between. So Dave Roberts is not just an analytics guy. I think what we're seeing with the Dodgers is human in and human out. Dave Roberts has the ability to make the gut decisions, to steal second base in this, what was it, the seventh game of the ALCS, going back to when he was a
Yeah.
player that
Yeah.
turned in 2004, that turned around the Boston Red
Second
Sox
and third, second and
fortunes.
third base. Yeah. Two bases
Yeah,
and
that's
one. Yeah.
right. That's right. So to make that gut call and as we've seen
Right.
as a manager, but human
Yeah.
in, human out, and he
Right.
takes the analytics, he digests them through his ability to think through the game, and he spits out the other side, making a gut call, like some of
Right.
what we saw just a few weeks ago in the World Series.
Well, you're right. And in sports, I mean, and baseball's notorious for it. It used to be you looked at batting average and RBIs and
Yeah,
home runs,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Nobody even cares about batting average anymore, which I think still, I mean, who am I to say I'm not running a team?
Yeah.
But I think it's still important. Guys
Yeah.
have to get a hit, but I guess they're figuring, well, if you don't get that many hits, but you're walking a lot, well, that'll make up for it.
That's right. I
Same
certainly
idea.
hope batting average doesn't matter as much. The trade that the Mets just made for Simeon, he hasn't had a good average this
I
last
know, and
year.
you're dying to talk about that, and I can't wait. We're gonna no, and here's the thing about, because this is the off season where everybody now, the season will be coming up for baseball. I know we just ended a season, but this is when everybody's 0-0, right? Nobody has any losses, and so it'll be fun to see how this off season plays out for teams, especially like the Mets, no question about it. Listen, it's a holiday weekend, my friend.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving is in a couple of days. Talking politics and religion without killing each other. That's what happens at the Thanksgiving Day table. And one of these days, we'll talk a little bit about the podcast that you host along with this one. You're a very busy guy. But I want to ask you from a sports standpoint, as a sports fan, you're a huge fan. What are you most thankful for regarding sports?
Well, I'm thankful for the show. I don't mean to be cheesy right out of the gate, but
Yeah,
I
too
really am
late. Too
I'm really
late.
enjoying this banter that we have on a weekly
Okay.
basis.
All right.
It's exciting, and we've been getting some really great feedback. So I'm genuinely thankful for that. I am thankful that the Giants are not going to mess it up, and they are indeed going to get the first pick in the upcoming
The New
NFL
York
draft.
Football Giants.
New York Football Giants.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am thankful for my New York Mets. The high A team was the champions. The Brooklyn Cyclones, the double A team, the Rumble Ponies were the champions.
Wow.
I'm
Yeah.
thankful that the Rangers won. No, you know what? Okay, so here's a very serious, bit of thankfulness that ties into Thanksgiving. My brother and I have had our ups and downs over the years, but over the last few years, we've really renewed. I don't know if renewed is because we've never completely fallen out, but over the last several years, my brother and I have a really deep, rich relationship. I can go over any day of the week and we're watching a Rangers game, we're watching a Knicks game. Our cousin Steven, who's still back east, we'll be texting him throughout the game. There's something to that. We're carrying on a family tradition. My uncle Jerry, my grandfather, we called him Zeta. They would watch almost every New York Mets game together, and it's a great family tradition to sit and yell at the TV and
Yep.
just sit with each other and be with each other and let my mother would come in inevitably and interrupt us and just stand right in front of the TV as if she was the only thing on the face
And
of
right
the
in
earth.
front.
But
That
anyway,
sounds
it's all for good comedy. Like
Yeah.
everybody loves Raymond type of good comedy.
Sure.
But
I love
I'm
that.
definitely
Yeah.
very thankful for that. What about you, Rick?
For
What What are you
me.
thankful for?
So I'm thankful that the Dodgers won the World Series. They made the back-to-back. I'd love to see a back-to-back-to-back, which is really ridiculously
Yeah.
difficult, but also greedy on my part. I'm also thankful that the Rams are playing quite well, and it could be that the city of LA winds up with a World Series and possibly a Super
Possibly.
Bowl.
They're playing that
Then
way. They're
I'm
playing.
thankful for, and by the way, I hate to jinx my teams. I'm a glass half empty fan. And so I really don't like to think when the season's still going on about things like that. I'm a game at a time guy.
Yeah.
Somebody texted me. I think the Rams were winning 34-7 against Tampa Bay in the Sunday night game, and he said, "Well, you guys are running away with this one." And I hate it when people when I get that text and it's during the game, right? I said, "Well, if I get one more score, I won't be nervous." I mean that's the kind of fan I am. And then I'm also thankful, as you said, it's funny how Thanksgiving has been. The meal and the family, it all brings us together. And you're right, but then having sports be on the menu is
Yeah.
just a wonderful thing, isn't it?
It sure is. It sure is.
Listen, that's going to do it for us, by the way. And I want to say that, as I say, I'm Rick Garcia. He's Corey Nathan. This show's called East Meets West. We want to thank you for joining us, and I want to say happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, Rick. And don't forget to let everyone know you can find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever you get your favorite podcast. This was fun, Rick. Thanks again.
A lot of fun. See you.
Baby got